We've got some really good looking tomatoes over here. Some Campari tomatoes. Continuing to get ripe. And there's a huge bundle here that I covered. And these are seeds that I saved from some tomatoes that I got from the store. They were actually from 2017. So I saved these seeds in 2017. This is why it's so great to save seeds, even when you get things from the store. If it has seeds, you should definitely save it because seeds can last a very, very long time, and they might come in handy one day when you decide that you're ready to start growing your own food. Now, heading over here, I wanted to share this little trick that I started to do. In one of my other videos, I was mentioning how I put essential oil on the skin of my squashes, and it kind of burned the skin. You can actually still see the burns there. So I decided to start putting it kind of on the stems, and the reason why was because the squirrels were eating all of the female flowers that had squashes on them. They would just chew them off while it was really young before the flower could even open, and the essential oil worked. However, because it burned the skin, I had to find a different solution. That solution that I came up with was taking a top from just any water bottle, decent sized top, and then I just put a few drops of essential oil. You can use clove oil, tea tree oil, something that's really strong, lavender, and then I put some water in there. So it's kind of like a natural distiller, especially when it's really hot out, because the water kind of steams and the smell just permeates the whole area. And as you can see, they finally left my baby squash alone. So it seems to be working so far, but I have to make sure I keep water in here because as soon as it evaporates, they come and they take the squash. So I have to make sure that I'm staying up with putting water in here and even putting a few more drops of essential oil when needed. But that's really awesome. I love when I can find natural ways to prevent pest damage and other critters that like to wreak havoc in the garden. But they're having fun. I mean, they really love it, and sometimes they just have a little too much fun. This is my cantaloupe. Super healthy. I actually had 2 plants planted here, but one of them was eaten by the pill bugs and this one survived. So definitely has strong genetics, and I definitely will be saving seeds. There are so many of these little female flowers with the little melon on the base. These are called Petite Grise. You know what? I'm not even going to try to say the name. I'm just going to show you. And you can try and sound it out. It sounds French. I don't know. But beautiful, beautiful plant. Ginger is coming up so nicely. I actually planted ginger and turmeric all down this entire row. However, I think the turmeric rotted. I also thought that the ginger had rotted as well because it took so long to come up out of the soil. It took like 2 months. When I purchased the little rhizomes, the plant, they did not have any green growth on them at all, and they also were just completely dormant. So it makes sense, and I buried them about 4 inches deep into the soil. So it makes sense that it took longer to come up, but it was just longer than I ever remembered ginger taking. So I was actually going to plant something else in place of it, but I'm glad that I kept the faith and was patient. Gardening will definitely teach you patience, and if you're already a patient person, you might realize that you're not as patient as you thought you were when you start gardening. Definitely a great way to grow your patience even more. So now look at all this wonderful garlic, or not garlic, ginger, coming up all over the place down there. And there's some like down here as well. There's one there. So I'm really, really excited for this ginger. And I can even see, veering off topic, but I can see a little squash from my other kabocha squash plant that did not get eaten by the the squirrels, so that makes me really happy. And of course, I have the top with the essential oil and water, which I need to refill today. Like if I don't refill this will be gone tonight, or maybe the second I walk away. So I'm glad that I seen this, and I will be either bagging it. You know what? I'm gonna actually do both. I'm gonna bag it because I can tell that it's already been pollinated, so the flower doesn't have to be, you know, exposed anymore. But before I bag it, I like to make sure there's no bees hanging out in there, because they do like to kind of sleep in there for a few days after they pollinate it. So very grateful for the bees and all the other little pollinators. But yeah, I'll also fill this up with more water and essential oil just to play it safe. Here is my moneymaker tomato, which has tons and tons of tomatoes on it. These ones are almost ripe. As soon as they started to turn, I put this little bag over them to protect from the squirrels and the birds, because it's been very hot. We haven't had rain in a couple of days. So, and I haven't filled my little bird baths, which I need to do that as well. And these tomatoes are full of water, which is exactly what the birds want. So they will peck into here just to get the water out. So it's important to leave little sources of water all along the garden. Really helps to mitigate damage from the animals, because they really just want the water that's in the fruit, especially on dry, hot summer days. Another kabocha squash that is just going wild. It started off on the ground, but it started to climb up the tomato plant. Then I had to detach it from the tomato plant, and I just draped it over this trellis here. And then I kind of trained it to go back down towards the ground. So we're finally here, and I'm gonna make sure that it stays on the ground, especially because as it gets larger, it'll be good if it makes contact with the soil so that it can put out more roots and take up more nutrients to sustain the plant and to be able to support lots and lots of fruit. There's a couple little fruits on here. So this looks like the sunshine kabocha. So that's cool, I really like that one. Recently harvested a couple of those from my other plant, which was taken out by the vine borers. So I'm glad that we have another one. And what else? Also, we have this heirloom kabocha squash that is now climbing up this trellis we have. And this net is supposed to be able to hold up to 22 pounds, maybe more than that. So, and it's made from melons, but I think it's still supporting pretty well, even though it's not really touching the bottom of the net. And I'm just hoping that the stem holds on until it's done. So there's the kabocha squash. That's the heirloom variety. So it's gonna stay green. It's not gonna turn bright orange like the sunshine kabocha. The watermelons are looking so good. I don't see any actual watermelons on it yet, but we have a lot of luscious green growth, which is awesome. And once we get another rain, I think that it'll really take off and start to put on fruit. And then we have a tomato here that's kind of struggling. See some yellow leaves. I think I probably should water this, because so far I haven't had to water anything, but I think we're getting to that time of year where I might have to do a little bit of watering. But it still has tomatoes. Still pushing through, so that's awesome. And then we've got another sun gold tomato plant here. So we have this huge, I think this is a Long Island cheese squash that actually I planted it in here with the asparagus, but it's trailing all the way up, all the way over the little wooden panels. All kinds of animals live in this little wooden panel, in all the little holes and gaps. Snakes, chipmunks, lizards, salamanders. So we have a really great ecosystem going, and I love that the wildlife loves the garden just as much as we do. Squash, I noticed that we have a butternut squash. This plant is actually a volunteer plant that was growing in my compost pile, and so I dug it up out of the compost pile and planted it here where I have the flowers growing. Beautiful zinnias. And it has its first fruit. So clearly I need to refill this. This is not good. So the squirrels will come and they will take this fruit. So I need to put some more essential oil and water in here. So I'll be doing that. So here's that Long Island cheese that's trailing all the way from back there. And it's taking up all of this room here, putting out vines everywhere. This was the first fruit that I bagged, and already it's double in size. And then there's another one right here that's gonna open soon, probably early tomorrow morning. And the bees are doing a great job with pollinating, so they don't need any assistance from me, and they really don't like when I help. They like to do it themselves. So we're gonna let them do it. And I should probably fill this up as well with a little more water. And there's also another one here. When they're this young, the squirrels don't come after them, but when it gets a little bit larger, I'll definitely be putting another top here with some essential oil so that we can protect it. And it's just continuing to go. So that is super exciting. So to end this video on some extra great news, this squash plant right here was actually the squash plant that was destroyed by a vole. The vole had eaten the base of the stem. As you can see, it's still there, the remnants of it. But this squash plant actually had put out some new roots, which is what I was hoping would happen. So I'm so thankful, because the squash that I showed you in that shorts video called Trouble in Paradise, this was the squash that I was referring to when I was saying how it was definitely not done growing and it was still developing. And then there was another one that was coming on up there. But the plant has definitely recovered. A little stressed, so there's some yellowing in the leaves. But this squash got so much bigger, so I know for sure that it has a very strong root system, even though the main base of the stem was completely severed. So that is so awesome. Plants are so amazing. God's creation is so incredible. There's nothing like it. So grateful that we didn't lose this squash and I didn't have to harvest it early. I can let it stay on here and ripen and turn orange, and hopefully we won't have any more problems with this squash plant.